Hey guys, welcome to 6 Minute Sessions. My name is Jonathan Sixtos, professional educator for about 9 years and licensed and ordained minister for several years as well. And in this podcast, we're going to tackle many different topics about life, probably mostly focusing on education and ministry, my two areas of expertise. But for our first show, we're going to be talking about a teacher's thoughts on 2 years of the COVID-19 pandemic. And I'll start off with probably a bit of a controversial statement, but I'll give you some background to qualify what I'm about to say. I think that the 2 years of COVID-19 have been good for education. Now, I won't say that they've been good for kids or students or parents or teachers or communities, but I think that it has forced us to have some difficult conversations. And in any relationship, difficult conversations can lead to positive growth. And I think that's what we're seeing now in public education here in the United States in regards to where we're coming out of this pandemic. Now, hear me when I say that we are not completely done. And sometimes we do get desensitized seeing these numbers and numbers and numbers and forgetting sometimes that those numbers are someone's mother or father, sibling, son or daughter. And that's a difficult thing that my heart grieves, especially as we see the impact on students and their families as well. But from a teacher perspective, 2 years ago, we were getting ready for spring break and anticipation was high. People were thinking about where we're going for vacation. I myself was going to go meet a friend and we were going to make some music together. And then we see the nation and really the world just push pause on many of our pursuits, many of our extracurricular activities. And I really hadn't seen that level of national fear since my childhood, 9/11/2001. And so I shared some of that with my students the last time that we were gripped with panic, facing a foe that we didn't understand yet and not knowing how we were going to conquer or move past it. And I would even venture to say that before 9/11, we really hadn't had that type of national panic since possibly World War II, the last time we were involved in a global conflict. And I say a conflict, we understand that a virus is not an actively antagonistic force. We just know that viruses do what viruses do. And this podcast, we won't be discussing where it came from, how it spread, but we're just talking about the impact on public education. And I'll take the next couple of minutes to tell you what has changed since then. We have seen in public education the proliferation of technology. Right now I'm running 3 screens, a ring light, and a webcam, and I don't know that I would have had that set up if we had not been forced to adapt to the situation. Now in my district, we went fully remote for the remainder of 2020, and we started the 2020 fall school year, 2020 into 2021, fully remote, and for pretty much the entire year, we ran a hybrid format. So I would sit and talk to my students, and then I would also look on the call, and hopefully kids were there. Now, the problem was that the COVID-19 pandemic exacerbated many of the problems we see in the American family. Students who maybe had working parents or single parent setups, it was difficult for them to stay on task if they had to have self-motivation and take ownership of their entire education. It's very easy for me to walk up to a kid who's distracted, just kind of bring them back into the fold. But if they're at home and there's so many temptations with video games and cell phones and technical difficulties, oh, Mr. Sixtos, my camera's not working. And so last year, it was a difficult year for education, and many of our students are coming in with learning gaps behind schedule. Now, thankfully, and this is not the case in every classroom across the nation, but thankfully we were able to come back face-to-face this year, and we haven't yet had a disruption to the in-person learning environment. And I will say that has definitely bolstered student-teacher professional relationships, student-to-peer relationships, and the overall climate of our campus. I don't want to use the phrase getting back to normal because I think we're still figuring out what normal is going to look like over the next several years. In fact, the state of Texas where I live, many of our state standardized tests are going to be going online in the next couple years as well. And so that's the background from where I say this tragedy, this catastrophe, this pandemic has been so bad for individuals and families and the systems that were not able to adapt to what the world had to deal with. But I will say coming out stronger on the other side, we will see that public education in the United States has gotten better. And I want to continue this conversation, maybe talk a little bit more about what we've had to do specifically, systemically to adapt to that change. And that'll be episode 2 of 6-minute sessions, because I just want to take a few minutes of your time and just discuss the different things that we're going through in life. And then a few episodes down the road, I want to share also with you a minister's perspective on COVID-19 and how it impacted the local church in the United States. And that'll mainly be my perspective. I don't have too much of a foreign experience when it comes to education or ministry, but I'm thankful that you were able to join me this time, and I can't wait to spend a few minutes with you next time. Thanks for tuning in, guys.